journey's wrapping up. Tell me some of your thoughts. What are you feeling now that we're winding down?
Well, I want to say this, Jay. This trip has been so elegant, so amazing. I mean, the emotions, the high, the going through the tunnel, the feeling, the spirit of the African ancestry. Man, you can't beat it. You cannot beat the experience. Oh, goodness, you can't beat it. But Jay, let me say this. Whatever they told you in America, it's a lie.
It's a lie.
And I'm saying that on YouTube. This is a lie.
They don't want to hear that, though. They don't want to hear that. What's happening, everybody? Still here, Accra, Ghana, and I'm here talking to Al and Lisa, and they've had an experience here in Ghana, and I'm just going to let them put it in their words, because as they were watching and observing and processing, I could tell that this was much more than a tour. And I think a lot of times people think of a tour, oh, I'm going on a tour, but the way that we try to create this is for it to be an experience. I don't know how each person is going to respond, but I'll tell you that we step back, we move out of the way, and we create the environment so whoever comes can have the experience they're supposed to have. So thank you two for joining me. You've been through the experience.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm glad you came along. Thank you for trusting me with the journey. Now that the journey's wrapping up, tell me some of your thoughts. What are you feeling now that we're winding down?
Well, I want to say this, Jay. This trip has been so elegant, so amazing. I mean, the emotions, the high, the going through the tunnel, the feeling, the spirit of the African ancestry. Man, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
You cannot beat the experience. Oh, goodness, you can't beat it.
Yeah, going through those, going through the slave castles, the dungeons, was eye-opening. Learning about all of the atrocities done to our people was, it's no words. Like, that was a low feeling for me to see. To hear about in detail all of the things that was done for the transatlantic slave trade.
What do you take back when you go home? What do either one of you take back from this understanding and from what you're seeing? Because you have a lot of people who don't think it's important. They think that we need to forget it. They think that we need to just move on and let it go. All of that. I mean, I could run down a whole list of things that people say, and a lot of reasons why they almost mock when people come. And a lot of them will look just like us.
Well, let me say this. Before we came on this trip, we traced our lineage. Like, we did the ancestry DNA first.
Okay.
And then we did the African ancestry DNA, and some of it, most of it confirmed, ran into both tests.
Okay.
One test confirmed pretty much another test. So I don't understand how people can't identify in America with being African. They have all these different stories, and we have Native American in our family. We have this, we have that. Not saying that people don't have.
And they're quick to say that, though. They're quick to say.
Not saying that.
I got a little Indian in. They got a little Indian.
Native American. I was blessed to be able to trace that one person from Nigeria, which is great grandfather's mother that didn't have a last name, just one name on my father's side. And I know he has a lot of different ethnicities in our DNA on his side.
Understood.
But it all stemmed from that one person that I was fortunate to be able to trace. So when I stepped onto the castle, you know what I mean, I can just imagine the things that happened to our ancestors. And it's their ancestors as well.
You mean the people who are here?
The people who are
Yes.
here. So we are African Americans because we are on American soil. But we but we are Africans. We just have that American attached to it. You know what I mean? And
probably got some of that other stuff attached to it too, that kind of filtered into the DNA from those other sources by way of what happened.
Yes. And I feel bad that there's a disconnect between our people and here on the continent of Africa. And so we all stem from those castles. The West Coast is lined with slave castles. I mean, it's something that can't be erased, and it's such a hard pill to swallow when you learn like all of the different things that was done. It just can't be erased like that.
But they're trying to.
They're trying to erase it.
They're trying to erase it.
They don't want the kids. They don't want the kids to know how America came to be. You know, we were stolen from our native land, and we did not originate as slaves. We originated as kings and queens of Africa. So you stole kings and queens from their native land, took them to stolen land because you claim that you founded that land from the Native Americans, the indigenous people that were already there. Yeah. And the whole entire America, U.S. system is based and created on your backs. And not even, let's talk about Africa, all the stolen resources. Yeah. Still to this day, they steal. They're robbing the land. And so, but one thing I take from all of this is that our people are resilient. Like, we've gone through some stuff, and we're going to continue to go through some stuff. But I think our energy is spent on America. Like, we are spending great energy in America for equal rights, equal pay, basic human rights, treatment. We don't want to be shot in the street. We don't want to. And then when I come here, it's just like I felt like I could breathe. Like, I really didn't have to worry about anything. And I know that Africa has its issues. We all have our problems. They still have some issues. But me being an African, I'm not African American. I'm just African. And when I look everywhere, there's melanin everywhere.
Everywhere you go.
You know what I mean? And so I know that there's a great disconnect, but I want Africans to know that, you know, we are African. I identify with being an African.
Now, some people are boiling their seething on their phones or their computers or whatever when you say you're African, because they want to make sure, and this will be other people with melanin in their skin, they want to be the first to tell you you're not African.
Oh, wait, no, I'm African.
But no, they want to.
My ancestors are from Nigeria, Yoruba, and Fulani.
But they don't want to say they're ready to jump in them comments and stop telling you your identity.
My African. DNA says.
No, but your DNA lying.
Oh.
I'm telling you how crazy this stuff gets. They're going to tell you to listen to them over what your DNA is. I'm telling you, that's another effect of colonization. How messed up, how confused people are because of what colonization did. Because they're going to tell you after you already know that you're something else. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, Jay, let me say this. No. Whatever they told you in America, it's a lie.
It's a lie.
And I'm saying that on YouTube. It's a lie.
They don't want to hear that, though. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear the good old USA is.
If you can see,
home of the brave.
if you can see the streets of people selling products and busy
That
and
entrepreneurship is real.
entrepreneurship. I'm an entrepreneur, you know, all my life, and you could just see the transaction, the organization. But everything you hear, you know, back in the day is like, oh, it's huts and lions and tigers and stuff. and when you come over here, it's a whole different vibe.
Yeah, it's a whole
different vibe. I told 10 of my good friends, all African American men, I said, you have to come in. You have to be in Africa.
But what do you say to those brothers who don't want to spend that money? They want to go down to DR. They're trying to go down to, because they trying to South America. They're trying to go get some of the South American goodies and stuff like that. Because they don't want to come to Africa. They don't see the value in it. And I had a conversation with 2 other brothers about this too. And one of the reasons why I lead the charge, because I know what the brothers need to see, but I want to get your perspective. What do you say to them when they don't want to spend the money, but they'll go spend the money on everything else?
If you come here, you won't even think about DR, Brazil, all of Puerto Rico. When you come here,
and the fellas know exactly what we say.
Yeah. When you come here,
oh man, we went down to the coast.
It's just, you need to come to Africa.
We had a villa.
Forget everywhere else. Come here.
Yeah, we had a villa. We were on the ocean. We put our feet in the water of our ancestors. You know what I mean? We see the red dirt and how fruitful the land is. You know, but the narrative and the misconception is that Africa does not have, and we need to come over there and save them from themselves. This is a way of life for them, and we are different.
Yes.
How we do things in America is different.
Yes.
How Africans do their way of it's tribal.
And they're different within the
they're different within their own country on the continent.
Yes.
So we are tribal people, and that's probably why we struggle. Because we need to know where we came from to find out where we're going. So, because when I researched my lineage, it opened up so much for me. You know, why I feel this way about this certain thing, and how I react to these things, and it's just it's amazing. But there is a disconnect. We are Americans. Africa is different. They do things differently. We eat at restaurants all day. We can eat at a restaurant 3 times. We eat out. But when they eat, it's a family thing. They have their friends. They're not coming to sit to the table. It's like, what time are we eating? We gonna dress. We're dressed when we step out to go and eat. We're gonna sit at the table with our friends and we're gonna converse. We're gonna have family time. So we're not gonna run into the restaurant 2-3 times a day like we do in the States. So their quick food is street food. They're gonna get a quick bite, or they're gonna get a piece of fruit. They're not gonna snack all day like we do. And then when we go to a restaurant, it is family friend time. So we're not sitting about like, what time am I gonna get my food? I only got an hour to eat. Let's go. That's just not how it's done here. And we realize that. Everywhere you go, there's somewhere to wash your hands. And that's probably even before COVID, because there are some traditions that they still eat with their hands.
They eat with their hands, that's right, with the right hand.
They eat with their hands. So it's just awesome to see how different we are, but how alike we are, and then how different we are.
It's a wonderful thing when you see the differences, because I tell people, I said, for years, everybody, I'd never come to the continent before, but people were trying to get me to come to the continent for different missions trips and things like that. So I was like, well, And it was the funny thing is I was sending people, sending money. Here's $1,000 for you to go and go help them poor people over there in Africa. They need us to come save them from themselves. Everything that's going on. I felt so silly when I got here. I felt so ignorant when I got here. I was like,
good morning.
Because I knew that. And these were well-meaning people who were leading these initiatives, but I also understood. And once I got here, these people did not need me to bring what I was even trying to bring, because they already had it. So that's a whole other conversation. They already got what I was trying to bring.
When you ride down the streets, you see people plowing the land. They're growing their own fruits and vegetables. They have their own cattle. They have their own goats.
Chicken, beef, everything.
There's food everywhere, first of all. And it's the audacity to feel like we're just so above.
That's how we've been bred.
When you see children on the street playing, they don't have a care in the world. They know that their parents are right here. They're fed. You know what I mean?
No arguments, no fights. It's just, it's love.
Because all the black people together in one place in America.
That's not good.
Some go there after that,
And then, there's nobody to give you the middle finger here. Traffic is not. Traffic is challenging.
That's a situation.
Traffic is challenging, but there's nobody to shoot at you in traffic. Nobody's giving the middle finger. They're all smiling and waving. I'm gonna cut in front of you because I kind of need to go ahead. And then the next person's like, okay, go ahead, go around me.
Organized
Give
chaos.
each other the wave.
Organized.
You know what I mean? Or like that one person that was behind us, he tapped the horn a little bit, and the driver knew, okay, let this motorcycle go.
Give away.
And
Come on, let's go.
And there's no accidents. The way that the traffic is, it's like no. I won't say there's no accidents.
But it's not like what you would expect.
It's not what you would
expect. Under chaos.
There's no road rage. There's no animosity.
Oh man.
I mean, if they have it, we won't know. You know what I mean? There's no duking it out. You know what I mean?
Even one of the accidents I saw, the lady got out and she didn't start rumbling and pulling out weeds and stuff like that. That didn't happen. Because they showing up got the weeds over here now. They got
the weeds, got everything you want over here.
The sisters are right over here, okay?
Everything you want.
The brothers are right over here.
So, but there was none of that happening. But she was chastising. She was saying, but she wasn't going off. It wasn't ballistic. It wasn't. Just I mean, because when I went back to the States and I was driving, and somebody cut in front of me, and they threw it in front, and I was like, wow, this is America. This is what we want to bring over here.
They have more conflict resolution here.
Yes.
Like if it's conflict, then they're gonna chat about it. They're gonna talk about it. You might hear some voices raised,
and that's
but they don't turn around and leave bitter, like with grudges. Like they talked about it, they hashed it out. It came down to another level, and
just to be clear, we're not talking about some of the greater issues that are facing some of the countries. We know that when it comes to some of the tribal stuff that happens and some of the different things that go on, that there will be times where you'll see conflict and there are civil wars happening in different parts of the continent with 54 countries and thousands of different ethnic groups. So we're not painting the picture as if everything is all perfect and what we're talking about a specific context of what we saw. Because I know this audience pretty well, so they're listening to pick apart where we listen. So it's like, so let me just kind of drop that in there, for that person.
Yeah, from what we witnessed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
From our experience.
Well, our experience.
That's why you need to come.
You come get your own.
Get your own experience, and you'll come back and say, "Wow."
Now, to your point of the experience, why do you think it's important for young people to know?
Oh man.
Let's say under the age of 21.
I think I think what happened. Our history is grim. But they need to know that we're resilient. Yeah. They need to know that our ancestors did not originate as slaves. Exactly. Our ancestors originated as kings and queens of Africa, stolen from their native land.
The motivation, though, you did a interview with Kwame, the street vendor.
Yes.
26 years old, got a degree, out on the street selling his paintings so he can pay for his room and board and his food. Mm-hmm. And the young people at home have opportunity.
They have so much, but do so little. Mm-hmm. It's even making me feel like, you got your entrepreneur, you got your businesses, but you should be doing a little bit more. You can step your game up.
Yeah, because you see how they roll. So
Yeah.
And that's what it's an inspiration. That's one of the reasons why I show people like Kwame and show others, because it's important for people to know that people over here working, and it's not just if he brought that hustle to America.
Woo! Man,
he'd be unstoppable.
We would be looking silly,
Yeah, man.
But that's what happens. That's because a lot of people get upset with Nigerians when they come to America, or wherever they go, wherever Nigerians go, wherever. But they're proud of who they are.
Yes. They're proud people,
and they will see where somebody else is slacking
and go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not upset with them about it. I'm like, hey, you know what? But now I'm not talking about taking advantage of people and manipulating, stealing, and scamming. I'm not talking about that. But I'm saying
their business.
But if you see where somebody has opportunities and they're loafing and laying around,
go for it. I'll tell you.
So that's shout out to my authentic Nigerian folks out there.
Shout out to Nigeria.
Shout out to Nigeria.
We I got a bunch of Nigerian DNA.
Me too.
And so it's like me too. Acknowledging that. But the one thing about African Americans is that we could probably lay claim to just about all of West Africa. If you take, we probably descend from a tribe. One of our ancestors.
Absolutely.
When you look at it, because of how the way that they basically herded our ancestors like cattle. And they didn't care where you came from.
Let's bring him in.
They put them on one boat, and on that boat you had people from Cameroon, you had people from Sierra Leone, you had people from Chad, and Liberia, all these different places, and you put them on a boat. And then of course they're human, so they're gonna reproduce. And so we are a product of that reproduction, but then not to mention about the rapes and everything that you had, the colonizer coming in. So we have all of it. So that's why I tell people, for me, it's not either or. America for me is a resource. That's it. There's no. I don't sit here and I'm not holding any flags. I'm like, because that red in that flag. If I hold the flag up, the red in that flag represents the ancestors in America who bled and died. And building and going and putting all of those structures up, the infrastructure that we see and celebrate today. So that's me, that's my personal thing. But when you think about older folks, why do you think they need to go?
Woo!
Like our seniors.
Oh man.
Our seniors have been through so much. They've seen so much. They're in the struggle. But to feel the love when you come to the continent is I think that's kind of what they need to be assured that we still have a connection to Africa. Because I'm sure that they can tell what their grandmother and great grandmother, some of those generations back, they need to know that there's still love. And that, to see that there's more things that's going on. You know what I mean? There's things that are here, and it's here for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let me say this: that the older generation, they have been, have been trained, and it's good to see if they come over from the United States and come over and see that, hey, things are changing. The younger generation, our generation, is learning more, they're finding out about the DNA. These things are they're not going to die in vain.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you know.
You just didn't work and died, and that was it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
come over and you say, "Wow, look at the country. Look at these young African Americans. They over here. Look at you, Jay. You know,
Yeah,
man,
to see that
it's
a
still
connection.
going on. That beat, that drum, we still connecting,
We still connected.
and we keep. It's coming generation after generation, and before it's going to get better with technology. It's just a whole component that is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fascinating. So.
Give me some deep stuff that you all.
Ooh.
Now that you're here and you see, it came, saw, and you conquered. What are some deep stuff that's resonating with you when you go back home and now you got to process?
Man, that
the dungeon. Going in the dungeon and seeing where, you know, I got daughters and I got a wife. And you see the slave castle and how they organize where the females stay, so the captains and the lieutenants can look down and pick what woman they want to rape, you know, and making them go take a bath and having kids and with them and giving them education, the kids education, or putting them back in slavery, man. I tell you, man, that was a rough one, man.
Yeah, it was rough. Just the whole system.
Okay.
To learn their system by design.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just it's a hard pill to swallow, to realize how barbaric they were in nature and how they justified that through their own religion.
Church.
And just the system that's set up then is still kind of affecting us now. Like, the whole thing is just like eye-opening. And once your eyes are open, it's just like, we go through so much in America. Like, we were taken and dropped off on stolen land. So for us to kind of figure, I mean, I'm not saying don't lose hope, but sometimes I feel like it's a losing battle. Like, we want acceptance, we want to be equal, you know what I mean? We're looking for things. I'm not looking for it personally.
I understand.
But we struggle so much, we put so much energy and protest into a system that was set up to keep us down to this day. And I feel like some of those energies can be better spent on making Africa what it should have been. Because we've been separated by design. Like, we you know, we suffer as a people. Like, we don't know who we are. Some people just think that their ancestors were slaves. That's where we start. That's where the history books start in school. And it is so much. It is just so much to that.
Having
and when
a
you
church over top of a
yeah, you have
a
church
slave
over top of a slave.
dungeon. That's tough.
So what did that say to you when you saw that? I mean, because I know a lot of people come, they see that, and how do you all process that part of it? I mean, I know we've had sidebar conversations, but you know, but what is your thought when you think that? Because I know some people come and
I was just trying to figure out how much did they whitewash the religion? Like, what were we doing before Christianity? Now, I know that in Ethiopia, I'm thinking it's Ethiopia, correct me if I'm wrong, there are but writings, and there are things on the wall that go back before the colonizers. Like, what were we doing before the colonizers? I'm sure that each tribe had their own way of worshiping the Creator.
they did.
But it's how much of that did they change? Like the audacity to have people struggle, sitting in their own waste.
Yes.
To the point where it became so much, it created another floor.
Yes.
See that.
And you can still see it, and you can
See
still
it.
smell the
Walk
stench
on
that
it.
they have in church and celebrations upstairs. Like, what kind of people?
Do that.
But we still see their actions today. You know what I mean? And our ancestors are our ancestors, but their ancestors are their ancestors. And I'm just gonna say I'm no different from my ancestors. Just, you know, I'm no different from my ancestors. And it explains so much about what we go through today in America.
So, were you gonna say? And I'm gonna come back to household. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna elaborate that, you know, when I heard when they were having church and the slaves were hollering, they would praise God more. You know what I mean? Like in the church upstairs, while they down there suffering, man, it's just
Well, how do you think? When you come back to your statement, how do you think, or why do you think that's even important today? Because when that was so long ago,
So long ago.
you know. But I'm being kind of facetious with this too.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so it's kind of, it was so long ago, but does that have any relevance today? That, I think that's the part where some people, because a lot of people have questions about this when they see it, and they don't know where to go, they don't know what to say, they don't know, because if they say too much, then they feel like they're going to get rejected or whatever. I don't know. So, do you think that, how do you think that ties into today, if at all?
I think it's it's big, man. You know, dealing with the church. We got a church on every corner. Liquor store and churches all in the black community. You know,
And the villages over here too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
know?
see pictures of white Jesus over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we need to realize that although we suffer in America, not knowing, people here don't know who their ancestors are. One guy said we still waiting for our ancestors to return when they went out and they didn't return.
Right.
They were stolen. They were snatched. Like, they don't know. And then I was looking at one person on YouTube. He was saying that he passed slave dungeons every day. And he did not know the atrocities that went on there until he moved to America.
Isn't that something?
So it's like the system that is keeping us divided and blind, they go through the same system here. Like, a lot of the younger generation,
You make an
You
interesting
know,
point. Yeah.
when I ask some people, my experience, when I ask some people, you know, it's just like, come from America, come to Ghana, show brotherly love. And it seems like they don't really know what happened.
They don't, or many of them don't, I should say. Now, some people might argue and say they do. Some do. You know, like, because I think we got a couple trolls out there, so.
Yeah, we know about the trolls.
Yeah,
and I just want to reiterate that these are our experiences, and these are things that I think, but I don't know. I need to do research on what our religion was before.
Well, it was I can give you some answers. It was many different ones, and we descended from many different tribes. So because if you go here and you'll have different ones with tribes right next to each other, or ethnic groups right next to each other. But what you said was really interesting. There were when we were at the Cape Coast Castle, there were a group of young, I don't know where they were, where they were from, but I could tell they were just. This was kind of like a field trip, and they didn't understand. But the reality is, that is the people who were in those dungeons were their ancestors too.
Yeah.
And much of what they're dealing with here, because the structure here is colonial structure. The countries are colonial countries. So when they're saying, "Hey, I'm this particular country, and I'm this particular country, and we don't like each other because of the different countries," that's a colonial mindset. So we're proud such and such, and we're, I don't want to call our country names.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can fill in the blank with any country you want to put in there. And But when I saw all of them there, and I could just tell the disconnect, we were engaged and paying attention.
Yeah, they were just all over the
Kind of
place.
like, hey, almost like it was turning into like they were ready to start playing soccer out there, football, right there in the dungeons, not inside the dungeons, but in the courtyard. But I think that part of what we're doing is having this conversation to say much of what the challenges that you see on the continent, whether South Africa, Nigeria, Senegal, wherever, it still goes back to places like that, dungeons like that, because the same ancestors were taken, the resources were taken. So the struggle that is here is as a result of those resources that were taken and are being taken by the same players that created the terrorism that you see the effects of what we're talking about right now. So when you see that, I mean, it's almost like when you see the, you talk about whitewashing, and you see the skin bleaching in different parts of the continent because they want to be European. You see the rejection of the natural features because of what the Europe. So there's like some, not all, aspire to be European, so they don't see a problem with the white Jesus. Many of them don't have. They look and they say that's Jesus.
A lot of those.
I was like, but when I was in Ethiopia, I asked the guy because I don't want to let too much of a cat out of the bag. The white Jesus over there, fake white Jesus over there too. Gotta put that in there too.
Yeah.
But I asked him, I said, do people not read? He said, no, they don't read.
Wow.
And I was like, because if you read, you know that different geographically, it was.
No way.
So anyway, it's enough of me talking. How would you? Because a lot of people have to reconcile that part of it too.
Yeah.
And your question is, what was going on before?
What was going on before the colonizers came? And the 15, 14, 13, 12, 10.
Yeah.
What was going on the continent with the different tribes? I'm assuming that they had their own way of worshiping God.
Yeah. But what do you say to the colonized? Now, see, I'm probably going. Y'all will be like, okay. So, what do you say to the person who's in colonized religion? All they know is colonized interpretations. All they know is to speak it in colonized language. Because these are the questions that people have. They come back and they say, what was going on before this? Because this is not even indigenous. So what was, how does someone, especially, because I'm telling you, this is a huge challenge that a lot of us in diaspora
struggle for
that. Because you realize it's something
you've been taught that way. Yeah, something happened in that dungeon. And for me, you in the church since high, Sunday school, going all the way up. And now your eyes are open. You're learning more.
But they tell you there's something wrong with that, you better not lean to your own understanding.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying this is what they'll come back with. They'll come back and they'll say this, and people are frustrated because they want to do right. They want to follow God. And it's not even so much. Some people have an issue when it comes to Jesus in the Bible because they're trying to figure out, they can't separate fake white Jesus from biblical Jesus. So their layers, their mind is automatically putting the two together without being able to separate them and say, wait a minute. So I guess, and maybe you all are still processing this. I don't know, but these are questions that I know people have.
I say be open and think. God gives you a mind to discern and pray. And pray and say, look, I need to find relevance on what I'm struggling with. Because, I kind of struggle with it too, but more and more I dig in, more and more I see it's a different picture.
We have more questions about, because I know there's some things that go back with, pictures and descriptions of Jesus sitting with the kings and queens of Africa. We just need to do more research on what's fact. What can we see? What can we touch to let us know, how did we practice religion before the colonizers? How much of that did they twist? You know what I mean?
That sounds like I don't say lifelong journey because it doesn't have to be lifelong journey. It may be, but like you said, going back before that to see the twisting. I think about all of the different layers of things that people learn. Because I'm hearing multiple things. You're talking about the system, you're talking about the religious aspect of everything. And whether it's religious or cultural or whatever, a lot of times you get backlash from people because they don't want you to ask questions. And they question your spirituality, they question your intelligence when you start asking common sense questions like, what was going on before that? Because I remember. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just trust it. Just trust.
Yeah, I mean, your religion is your religion. You believe in what you want to believe in, just as they did tribally.
Right.
Just as they did before the colonizers and after the colonizers.
Right.
If it's been working for you all this time, hey.
What you gonna say?
Go for what you know. But the bigger system was the fact that they used Christianity as a system to enslave us and divide us. And that is more the priority than to figure out which religion people, you know what I mean? Because the Creator is here. God created everything you see is planned and organized. The colors, the structure, everything is from the Creator's hand. So your religion and whatever it is that you choose to believe is what you believe. But the bigger picture is the system that was designed to separate us, whether it be Christianity, whether it be this religion, that religion. That's the back burner. The main focus is what happened that divided us to the point where we can't even get along with one another. And what system is that? It went on back then, and it's still trickling down today, which is why we struggle. How can we undo this?
You dropped some gems right there.
Yeah, I mean.
But I'm saying, when you said it, you said, what was the system and how was it used? And I think that is a really good place for people to start. Because if they can begin to figure out how was this used to oppress, to manipulate, to separate, to conquer, then we can start figuring some things out. Because, how was the white Jesus used? The fake white Jesus image used to oppress. A lot of people don't even realize that that's probably the number one image of oppression in the world because it's everywhere. And people are waking up and saying that's not right. Meaning, and we're not saying Jesus isn't right. I'm not saying that's not.
Absolutely, that's not what we're saying.
Get it right.
Fake white Jesus is not right. Just to be clear. So but what you said was so profound. That if we can start understanding that system, whatever somebody believes, whatever they want to follow, whatever they want to do, that's on them. But if we can start understanding that system, y'all preaching to me.
And I don't even know if I don't even know if we can even understand that system. I think about it every day, and I don't understand it. I know that they feel like we don't deserve, we're less of, our skin is different from theirs. We are different, but we are not on the same level. And we are only going to be what we're going to be, what we originated from, which they think is people of color that are beneath and below, and all we are ever going to attribute to is to be a servant of them because they feel like they are superior.
That sounds like it kind of goes back to that system you were talking
That's
about.
the system.
Yeah.
So whatever religion you want to practice, that's on you. But just know that it is a system that stemmed from their Christianity,
Their version
their version of
interpretations.
Christianity, and it's a trickle down effect to the point where African Americans, America, and Africa are still being affected. And how can we undo that? Like, and just let me say that we go through so much as African Americans in America. You know what I mean? The police killings, the guns, you know, it's just so much. It's like, you know, we go through so much oppression, and it's like our energies can be better spent on rebuilding the continent that we're from.
Right. And rebuilding ourselves.
Rebuilding ourselves,
Rebuilding
knowing
ourselves.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Once
so
you
we can
know
do that.
yourself, then you can move forward and move forward with
thyself.
pride.
Yeah.
We are more than what they are ever going to say.
But you
that
know what
we
they
are.
now here's somebody right now they're gonna say now you can't do nothing with no pride now because you know pride comes before destruction and a heart of spirit before a fall. We're not talking about that kind of pride.
And you know, I accept that from others, but I will not accept that from our own people. I see a lot of self-hate going on. Just people going back and forth about things. And it's just like, I don't see unity. And that's what we should see some kind of,
Especially
even though we
since they-
disagree,
yeah.
we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But the unity needs to come in order for us to be a great people.
Because that's what they do. The French and the British will fight each other. The Dutch, they'll kill each other.
Right together.
They'll go when it goes down. When they have a unified force
Let's unify.
when it comes to Africa.
Yeah.
Even though they chopped up Africa and divided it, but you don't see them fighting over it anymore. They understood we need to sit down and work this out.
Work it out.
And they went to Berlin in 1885 and they carved it up and did what they wanted to do. But your point is very well received from me, because if we can understand that system, that's when the beginning of, because when people start understanding how it affects them, because again, you got a lot of black people with white minds, meaning they don't even connect with you being black.
Oh yeah, they don't connect.
Yeah, you know,
they think they're from the islands. Oh, we're from Jamaica. We're from Brazil. Or we're from
anywhere else.
Anywhere else
But
except Africa.
Yeah.
And
They-
your ancestors originated.
They won't take the DNA test. They scared.
Yeah,
It's all
your
kind of-
ancestors originated from Africa. And just to, like, I really want to see unity of some sort. I don't want to see us backbiting each other or smart comments and remarks. I want to see us unifying. We've heard enough about what the white man did, and what are we going to do to move forward? We have learned enough history to know that the system is set up by design for our downfall as a people, but we are resilient. So now that we even see that we are resilient, and we take a lot, and we go through a lot, and we are still standing, let's unify. We already know what had happened. How are we going to move forward? We need to unify and move forward, because if not, the separation and the division that's been designed to keep us down is still existing amongst ourselves.
And it's almost like it runs on autopilot.
Yep.
It's on autopilot.
Because
Click it on. And
We already know they don't like us. We already know that they want to see us dead. We already know that, and I'm being honest.
No.
They want to see our downfall
and many of us,
to a certain extent,
right? It's still
because we
just
still
for the
keep
profit.
we still keep their finances going.
Yeah.
We keep their finances going.
But some of us like to see our own downfall too.
Yes,
Because the people
that's
who,
the self-hate I'm talking about.
Yeah, the people who throw the most, I'm gonna tell you, and it's really sad, the people who throw the most hate in the comments are African Americans.
Absolutely.
Those are the ones who come with the thunder. They come hard, but I come back at you too.
And the people that throw the most, I've seen posts with one-liner statements, and then people just go off.
Yeah.
Who's creating those statements? Who's
It could
putting
be
those
it
posts
could be
out?
a troll who's white.
Absolutely. You said it, Jay.
That's a
You
troll.
said
It could be
it.
a troll who's white.
You said it.
But we see how easy it is for us to fall for those tactics, because they can put a black face on it, and they can just come in there and say one thing, and then it's like this eruption
Yeah.
you see things in your
And
life.
so that we stay divided. And my thing is, if we can't unify, let's just not talk.
And that's
I
impossible.
don't want to hear the.
Yeah.
And I know
That ain't
social
gonna
media is what it is, but if we can't unify and maybe agree to disagree and come off on a positive note opposed to a negative note, then let's just not talk. Let's just stay how,
But there's so much pent up
let's just not
anger.
talk.
There's so much pent up anger.
Absolutely.
There's so much people.
Absolutely.
They
I
can't
understand.
even. It's like they're waiting. Like those particular people, because it's not everybody. Because some of the most loving people in the world you'll ever meet are African Americans and Afro Canadians,
Exactly.
and Afro Brits and French, Afro French. Some of the most loving people, smart, resilient. But then there's this other pocket of people that are ready. And that's one of the reasons why they have failed relationships, failed businesses, failed life. Because they have that
They don't
thing,
have
that
anything else to do.
unreconciled thing going on. And it triggers something within them that causes. So they're looking for something. A lot of times they need a job, need something to do. They spend all day on social media, and when that happens, they look for things and then they get into it. So all right, we go on and on and on. We're gonna do a part 2 when we come back to the States, because we all live in the DMV.
Yeah,
let's do that. Let's do that.
So we'll do a part 2 in the States round the way.
Definitely. Round the way.
But I want to thank both of you for coming on this tour and being a part of this experience. I thank you for sharing your insights and your thoughts.
Our pleasure.
Because I didn't know it was going to get quite this deep.
Yeah, but our pleasure.
I told you.
Our pleasure.
I had a feeling but I appreciate it, because I appreciate real people. And I appreciate real conversations.
Likewise.
And that's one of the reasons why we have these tours, because I want people to have these types of experiences. So when you go back, you will reach the people you're supposed to reach. You'll reach the people you're supposed to reach. I'm just a conduit. That's it. That's all.
Well, we really appreciate what you do for the cause. Because you don't have to take time and show folks around. You can just be doing your own thing. So we really appreciate you not only giving a tour. It's not just to sightsee. It's to find out that Africa has so much to give. And we as African Americans need to identify with this continent more than what we have been doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you, for trusting me. And if you're looking to have this type of experience, not just a tour, but it is an experience, and everyone you hear talking about this, they're sharing their accounts, what their thoughts are from the journey that they've had. And I believe that's important, because as I tell you, we never know how many thousands of people these videos reach and who it connects with. But just like the previous interviews we've had resonated with someone, they decided to come, or someone else decided to come, we're hoping that you can take this journey and understand that much of what we've been taught in the US educational system, or the UK educational system, or the Canadian educational system has been either skewed or lies. And this is not just for Black folks, African Americans, African diaspora. White folks need this too. Because they've been educated under the same system. And as you've been educated under the same system, you are more than welcome to be a part of this and learn as well. So that, and I tell people all the time, I said white people help raise me. So just so you understand, you'll hear us talking about this, but then I also recognize that the schools and the experiences that I've had to be, because my Black father was absent. There were white men who came to my life and who made a huge difference. So don't misinterpret what we're saying as hating anyone. What we're saying is, this is the truth, this is what happened, how do we correct it? We're not going to whitewash it, dance around it, try to make people feel good because of whatever. This is what happened. These are our stories. And we're going to make sure that our stories are told by us. And we don't need Hollywood to tell our stories. I can tell you, I'm not aspiring for Hollywood to pick up my story and run with it, because I understand if Hollywood wants it, then that's fine. From the standpoint of, control and making sure the authenticity of the story is told correctly. What Hollywood can do is provide the resources. We'll take care of the production value to make sure that it gets out the right way. And it's because of people like this who've taken the time, who've made the investment. Now, as they go, they'll take it back to their family and friends, and you can do the same thing. So make sure that you visit MaximumImpactTravel.com. Like, subscribe, share to Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron on YouTube. And of course, you can follow me at Jay Cameron Official on IG, and we look forward to seeing you somewhere on the continent of Africa. Take care.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.
The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And Darren and Destiny are twin brother and sister, and you go on their adventures throughout the African diaspora, meaning so African diaspora destinations, primarily focused in Africa, but we go to South America, we're going to go to the Caribbean. Their first book is going to take you to Ghana, and then we're going to go on a safari, and from there we're going to go to Ethiopia, and then we go to Salvador, Brazil. And what the goal is to be able to inspire curiosity in the continent of Africa, in our children from a very young age, and to really tell a more accurate story. Most of our children are exposed to negative images, late night infomercials about how bad things are, everybody's sick, everybody's poor, everyone's uneducated, but that's simply not true. So what Darren and Destiny and their family do is they go to different African destinations. They are learning about these different places. You're beginning to see positive images, but still telling the truth. I mean, that's the important thing, to tell the truth about some of the things that have occurred. But it's all done on our children's level so they begin to understand it. And it begins to pique their curiosity. They begin to learn more. And hopefully one day they will want to explore and visit the continent of Africa and its many countries. There's just so much that Darren and Destiny are able to do, and as they're doing it, it's like they begin to open the minds of a new generation, and they don't get bombarded and indoctrinated with negativity. They're actually able to see positivity and inspiring images and messages about the African diaspora, as well as those who are still indigenous to the continent of Africa, and they begin to learn more and just see things differently. So I'm excited about introducing the Adventures of Darren and Destiny.